Orbital Outfitters has supported itself. We do lots of small bit contracting pieces for other suit companies, valves, little work. We've done joint development work for NASA. We've done contracts for some of the larger aerospace companies. So Orbital Outfitters has done a lot of that kind of stuff. An interesting part of Orbital Outfitters' background is that one of our founding members and our chief designer is a guy named Chris Gilman. Chris Gilman owns a company called Global Effects. Global Effects is pretty much, if you've ever seen a space movie, that was their spacesuit. Also a lot of medieval armor stuff as well, which is actually an interesting overlap. There's a lot of, you should do an interview with Chris sometime. He can talk about the parallels between suits of armor and spacesuits, and there's a surprising number if you're really, really into both categories. Anyway, because Chris has such a capable production facility, it's a very large facility in North Hollywood, Orbital Outfitters has always leased space from Global Effects, and the partnership between the two is often there's sharing of equipment, sharing of personnel, sharing of ideas, and so there is a lot of cool overlap with the film industry, and also, we get there are a lot of times TV shows and movies and other things are saying, oh my gosh, could we use a real spacesuit? Could we do that instead of and usually they actually decide later that doesn't make a lot of sense and they'll go back to their Hollywood version, but we do have a lot of those kinds of interactions.
Where do you see your business going over the next couple of years?
Well, for the moment, I see us working through, what's going to keep us busy for the next few years is what we would call safety suits, get-me-down suits, emergency pressure suits. You pick your term, but basically suits to protect both orbital and suborbital passengers and crew from, the big thing is emergency decompression, but the other, there are other hazards the suit protects you from, chemical exposure, fire, thermal extremes, that kind of thing. But for the next 2 to 3 years, that's absolutely going to dominate our business. The next step that our people sure would love to do, but we'll see if there's really a market for it, is to move on to an EVA suit. But with an EVA suit, you really need, a point from which to do an EVA. So that's, a big stumbling block. It's not going to be the ISS. If it's anything, if it's like a Bigelow station or maybe a larger capsule, something that's staying on orbit for a little longer. And then you either need an airlock to get the people out, or you need a means to, you need to depressurize the entire cabin and have everybody suited, and then one person goes out. It's fairly onerous. So I think moving to an EVA suit is that would be the next thing, and certainly what everybody wants to do. But I think we're still a little ways away from the demand being there for that. But you can imagine if put yourself in the shoes of somebody like Bigelow, if you have a space station, you're going to be able to anticipate huge numbers of problems. But one can imagine that situation where there's something broken, something wrong, something's going on the outside of the station, and you can look out the window and see it and can't do a thing about it. That's the situation I think you need to protect against. But it's not just a matter of building the suit. It's the support equipment for the suit. It's, like I say, that notion of an airlock or a means to get the people out, or somehow a door that can open to space, be able to depressurize. It's not an inconsequential problem. The suit's just a piece of the equation.
And again, the suit is inextricably linked with its environment.
Right, exactly. And then you start saying, and this was a big issue with ISS and shuttle and other things. It's been an issue all through the space program. Okay, so you're going to do an EVA. Has the outside of the vehicle or station or structure been built to accommodate that? Are there handholds? Are there footholds? Are there places to clip on safety cables?
Are there sharp objects?
Yeah, exactly. If they haven't designed it for that, it's a significant challenge to get out there in a suit where you're already kind of clumsy, you're in a zero-G environment. It's hard. It's properly hard to think about doing this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think that would be the next obvious step. We've always had an interest in, what we call the very high altitude skydive or space dive. Space dive being more of a trademark term for 100,000 foot plus skydive. There's that's a separate interview. There's a long, long list of issues there. It's a very, very sexy thing, And the fundamental flaw with it has always been that not just building the suit, but having a means to get up there reliably. So the advent of these suborbital vehicles, I think, does eventually enable that. So there's some really cool stuff there, but that really requires an outside funding source that wants to do it.